We've been here before, fighting the problems that fight back. But we can shift the status quo, because we see opportunities where others see obstacles. We're change makers and problem solvers, uniting over 1 million minds to address complex issues facing communities around the world, including yours. With passion and purpose, we've led the efforts to put an end to polio. Now eradication isn't just possible, it's plausible. Every day we're investing in a new generation of leaders so we can continue to provide access to clean water, tackle global health concerns, support education, and build the foundations of peace across borders. We're working together as partners and professionals while making friendships that last a lifetime. We're Rotary, and there's no limit to what we can do.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, where a bunch of good people do great things in the community and around the world. I am personally so excited about today's meeting, our great speakers, our new members, and also the fantastic noise of fellowship that was going on before we ring the bell. Welcome again, and again this morning our invocation today is by Head Pastor Patrick Gallus of St. Bernard's Catholic Church, song and pledge by Bill Miller, and visitor introductions by Tony Oliva. And now for our invocation, Head Pastor Gallus.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here with you. I have many pleasant memories of my association with Rotary in Poto and Muskogee, Oklahoma. Let us pray. Dear God, we praise and adore you and ask your blessing on us and on our country and on our world. We are so in need of healing. The forces with which we contend and against which we struggle are numerous and strong. And so we pray that with your strength to help us, we may remain ever faithful to what is right and good. The many gifts that you've given to us as professional men and women and as citizens of a great nation were given not just for our good, but for the good of the world. And so we pledge once again to put them to good use. Bless us in that resolve. All this we humbly ask. Amen.
Let's sing America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for space. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. I'm introducing our visitors. We have today, you're visiting Rotary Club of Tulsa. We're Club 2500 in District 6110. Today we have Rodrigo Rojas with Teach for America. He's with Tim Caldwell. Tanya Davis is with Terry Heritage. Of course, she's principal at Celia Clinton. Angie Walters is a guest with David Wagner. Hannah Jackson is a guest also with David Wagner. And we have Amanda Viles. She's with CAP Tulsa, a guest of Rotarian Philip Viles. Rocky Goins is Leading Light Development, with Leading Light Development, a guest of Jan Lobb. Also a guest of Jan Lobb is Lauren Brookie from TCC. And Krista Newberry with Tulsa County is a guest of Michael Willis. So let's welcome them with a round of applause. We have one visiting Rotarian, which we'd like to welcome with a hearty high Rotarian, and it's David Cobb. He is with the Rotary Club of Southside Tulsa. Hi, Rotarian. Thank you for visiting, and please come again.
Thank you very much, Tony. Our sponsors today, they'll be on the slide. If you don't mind, you could stand as well. Allegra Printing and Imaging, Dustin Holder. Vision Source Tulsa, Terry Lawson. Claude Neon Federal, James Adair. And Monette and Associations, Ed Monette Associates and Associations, all that. Thank you, Ed. Thank you to our sponsors, and we appreciate your support of our club. I think you all will see a theme this year. When I step in it, I just go ahead and wallow around. And, you know, if I'm going to goof up, let's go all the way. So I pre-apologize for that. It'll be fun later in the year. Our upcoming programs next week, we have Mark Graham. He's with the Tulsa United Way, but he's going to talk about the impact and needs on bringing nonprofits in Tulsa together and some real traction that's helping there. But next week is a bonus, so you need to bring all the guests you can. You get 2 programs in one, because Bob McKenzie is also going to present the wonderful RAM project. I don't know how many of you, I'll just ask, followed RAM on the internet and watched that race virtually. Was that cool or what? So what we get to do is connect the dots. You know, on the race there were dots, so we get to see the human side of that. If you're on Facebook, you've seen some of that already. The following week, August the 3rd, Daniel Regan, who's the chairman of Typros. So we'll get to hear from another organization in our community of younger professionals, and that should be very enlightening. August the 10th is Mike Knott with the Oklahoma City Boathouse and Olympic Training. It's now my pleasure to invite Chuck Wilson, who's our membership director Ford, to introduce our 2 newest members. While Chuck makes his way up here, I want to thank Dale Assel for doing our new member orientation.
The Rotary Club of Tulsa has a special membership designation called corporate. A member of senior management may be the corporate member. He, a full-fledged member of our club, but they pay for their meals as they attend. Then there is the participating member, a member just like you and me, who is fully involved with our club. This is a great way to not only attract great members and business affiliations, but to expose Rotary to even more great companies and organizations in our city. So, will our newest members now please stand along with their sponsor? I am pleased to introduce New View, Oklahoma, which is headquartered out of Oklahoma City. It began in 1949 and is a life-changing source of hope and empowerment for those in Oklahoma living with blindness and vision impairment. Thanks to the fine efforts of our member David Wagner, thank you, David, I introduce to you our corporate member, Dennis Loney, who's Vice President of Business Development and Operations. He grew up in Minnesota, first came to Oklahoma in 1973 and returned to our state in 1984 with prepaid legal services. Dennis has traveled worldwide. He has 3 grown children and 6 grandchildren, ages 18 months to 18 years, and all live within 2 miles of his home in the city. Extra bonus. Little known fact about Dennis, He was a yacht captain on the Gulf Coast for a few years. Then we have Brandy Bynum, who will be the participating member for New View. She is a Tulsa native, volunteered for special education classes in high school, and began working with individuals with developmental disabilities. Thus, her passion for advocating for those with special needs. Brandy has 4 sons, 7, 11, 13, and 20. Her second son was born with optic nerve hypoplasia, an uncorrectable condition that rendered him legally blind. She and her son were committed to overcoming this condition so that he may live as normally as possible. Therefore, when asked to serve as regional director of New View here in Tulsa, she jumped at the chance to put her practical experience with her son into action for others. Little known fact about Brandy, for a brief time in her youth, she was a stand-up comedian. Maybe we'll see more of that later. We are so pleased to have New View, Dennis, and Brandy a part of this great organization. Now, will you please stand and offer a warm Rotary welcome to our newest members?
Thank you very much, Chuck. I really appreciate you doing that. And Dennis and Brandy, welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. And Dennis, I got to say, sometime you can come over and look at my collection of artifacts from the Wild Goose. Do you know what that is? Yeah. John Wayne's yacht. I happen to know somebody that was a captain of that yacht, so got some cool stuff. Good to have you. Good to see you. Hope you're happy with your choice, and you're welcome here anytime. Our Rotarian of the Day today is Josh Herlin. Josh is a personal financial advisor for Morgan Stanley. He joined our club in December of 2014. Josh spent 9 years with the Army with a deployment in Afghanistan, and I want to say thank you for your service, Josh. He has been married for, he thinks, 3 years now. We'll work on that. And he has 2, we're going to get you. He has 2 4-legged kids, and they're all living together in Midtown Tulsa. Josh was brought into our club by Karen Keith. Thank you, Karen, wherever you are. And he stays with our club because of local connections to Tulsa and its service partners. And in his words, Rotary helps him keep focus on local service, local connections in Tulsa when the news and his job pulls him away. So with that, I'd like to welcome our Rotarian of the Day, Josh.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Lynette, for volunteering me today and nominating me as Rotarian of the Day. Haven't been in the club very long, but I'm going to have to get used to the heckling. This is the first time I've witnessed public heckling, so much appreciated. I'm not sure I deserve the honor, other than the fact that being under 35 and the Rotary Club of Tulsa makes me a bit of a minority, so perhaps due to inclusion issues, I got the nomination today. So, as I said, or John said, spoke for me, it's easy to get caught up in national affairs and forget what's in our own backyard. And Tulsa really is a special place. Coming here once a week and having great speakers, as we do today with Marcia and Greg, help me, and all of us, I think, keep those Tulsa connections and remind us just how special Tulsa is. Marcia is a Senior Vice President of Human Resources at WPX. She is from Marietta, Oklahoma, has a law degree from TU, as well as a degree in communications. Greg is a managing partner at Deloitte Advisory with over 30 years experience in energy, financial, retail, and public services. He's also a former Tulsa native, having taken 9 years off to move to DC, and he recently came back to us just over a year ago. So please help me to introduce Marcia and Greg, who are striving hard to make Tulsa great again.
Well, guess good noon, right? It's between morning and afternoon, so good noon to everybody. These are bright lights, man, so I feel, yeah, exactly right. Well, I really do appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. Marcia and I spoke with the Oklahoma City Rotary Club on this very same topic probably a few months ago, I guess, and it seemed to go pretty well. We weren't ushered out of the room or anything like that, so it seemed to work pretty well. as the introduction was, so I serve as the managing partner for Deloitte's operations, meaning all the different functions that we have across the state of Oklahoma. So, we're, as for those of you who are not familiar with Deloitte, we're the world's largest professional services firm. So it's kind of like everything from auditing, tax, and then all the consulting activities that go on with it. I'm really thrilled to talk about this subject. As Marcia knows, I'll talk to anybody about this topic because I'm incredibly passionate about it. And you might think, what on earth is a white-haired, silver-haired, whatever color hair, gray hair I have now, over 50, white guy here to talk about in terms of diversity and inclusion and its importance. And it's probably, and we'll get into some of the reasons why that is in just a little bit. But Marcia and I are going to talk with you about the importance of it. And we got connected through what's known as the Women's Energy Network, something that when I came back in from living in Washington, D.C., I learned that we didn't really have a program up and going. It was understudy at that point in time, and so was able to get with folks like Marcia and others to really get going in terms of sponsoring and funding and trying to get that program up and running, which I think now, Marcia, I want to say there's 600 females in that program now, and at all different levels of the organization. It's perhaps one of the most successful stories we've had in a while, if you will, in terms of that diversity and inclusion in the marketplace. So kind of a neat story. So from a Deloitte perspective, I explain this to people, and I've lived here in Tulsa I grew up in a small town in Missouri, a little town called Monette, Missouri, if any of you know where that is. It's just across the line. It is a town of 5,000 people, and frankly, I probably in candor I probably didn't see an individual of color until I went to college. Probably I was 18 years old before that actually happened for me. For those of you old enough to know who Archie Bunker was in those days, my dad was Archie Bunker. I loved my dad. My dad's long since passed, but it was a small world, and it was one that was certainly filled with that type of a small town type of an approach. So I had the chance to come to work out of college with Deloitte, and really started my career at that point in time. And that probably started the journey a little bit in terms of the importance of diversity and inclusion. But frankly, now for us as a firm, I mean, we're the world's largest professional services firm. We are in a war for talent every single day of the week, and so for us, we don't have a lot of physical assets. We're not a big power plant or anything like that. Our assets are our people. And the best way that we can serve our clients is by making sure that we attract and retain the very best talent possible. And to do that, that means you really have to invest and understand where that talent lies, right? And that is the future. It's no longer about the stodginess of activities that go on. So for us, last year we hit number 11 on the Diversity Inc.'s top 50 inclusive workplaces. So we're proud of that. We won't stop working till we're number one on this topic, but it's something we're proud of as an organization. You might say, well, geez, the city and the state's kind of in the doldrums with respect to economic times. Thank goodness oil's bounced back a little bit now, and things will get better. But why on earth would you talk about this now? Why is it so important of a topic, right, given what's going on? And I think what I'll do is maybe we could, Hannah, if we could point to the slide, the McKinsey slide. I think that's probably a good one to point to. So I want to call your attention to this slide and kind of why does it matter, right? So what is diversity and inclusion? Why does it matter at all to you as an investor, to you as a company owner or something like that? And the study, shows pretty clearly what actually happens. So if you look at what goes on from financial returns, if they're gender diversity, they're 15% more likely to have financial returns above their national industry median. So that's gender alone. And then when you add further from an ethnic diversity, it increases even greater, up to 35%. Beyond the numbers, though, I've really seen this firsthand, and this kind of gets maybe back in terms of why and where it personally came to roost for me. So I was in graduated college, came here, spent 23 years in Tulsa. Frankly, wasn't just doing my thing day to day, and then I was relocated to Washington D.C. to go help launch our firm's federal practice. So I went from arguably one of the lesser diverse environments. It's probably fair to say, not as less diverse as Monett, Missouri, but still a less diverse place. And then I went to perhaps one of the most diverse places in the world, frankly, in Washington D.C. I had, and frankly, I loved it. It was great. You just saw the talent from different people. You saw different perspectives. And frankly, when you're mashing and meshing with your clients on a day-to-day basis who have very diverse backgrounds and everything from, again, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, things, things that we don't feel comfortable necessarily talking about, and specifically white guys over 50 don't feel necessarily that comfortable. I'm so thankful for my experience to do that because I learned how important that really was in terms of attracting, retaining the very top talent. I also learned a really hard lesson, and it sticks with me forever. I remember really vividly one time serving one of the country's most complex financial organizations, and we had a crisis situation. Client was. We had two partners who decided that they were going to leave, and they left, and right before a big meeting, right before a big opportunity, and I was the senior partner. I was left with trying to figure out exactly how to solve this issue. I did what I usually do. I scoured the firm, found the right athletes, the best athletes. I thought the best athletes to put into the table. Smart people, smart folks. We get into the room, and looking around the table, I didn't think much of it until afterwards, and so I brought 3 white guys. And in the room, was not sensitive to it whatsoever, just was not. And so in the room, there's the black female who's the CIO, white female who's the chief operating officer, and then another individual that was not of color. So I luckily was able to take that into a situation where later the COO comes up to me and says, you brought some really great folks, but you kind of forgot one thing. And instead of really chewing on me about it, she made such an impression, and the way that she made the impression, it made me think about, wow, how many times do we always say we want to walk in our clients' shoes, but do we really? Do we want to walk in other people's shoes, but do we really? So the moral of that story really is that that there is great diversity out there. There's a great opportunity to embrace that. And frankly, for our state, and Marcia's heard me mention that several times over, for our state, when you're looking at corporate headquarters to be located here, if I don't know if anybody from the chamber's here, but they've heard me mention this before. There's a new organization that the chamber has formed. I don't know how new it is, but it's called the Mosaic organization within the chamber. I would really encourage you to try to get involved with that. One of the things that Deloitte's going to be doing this year is I've talked with the chamber. I want to sponsor a CEO council that's focused on this particular issue. And the reason why is for our state and for our city to grow and expand and get more corporate headquarters here, I can promise you, and I think if Mike Neal were in the room, he'd probably tell you this, is that one of the things that they're looking at is diversity and inclusion. And so it's so important to corporate headquarters to be able to offer up that type of an environment, and that's really what it's about today. So I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Marcia. Let her talk about probably a good segue into your area that Marcia's quite passionate about, again, with respect to diversity and inclusion in STEM. Thanks all.
Thanks so much, Greg. We've had a good time doing this presentation, and it's sort of morphed because we started doing it, the downturn had started, And then it's really started down, and then now we're sort of seeing, hold our breath, is it leveling off? So the importance of the talent pipeline in a downturn, or any time, is critical, and it's fun to talk about it. I think the key thing on my slide, first slide. There you go. It says retired. Day 3, I was wondering how I was going to adjust to it, and I got up this morning and I thought, I have to dress up this morning. What's wrong with this? But the serious part of that thing is I am retired, and there is a whole lot of baby boomers right there with me who are looking for that opportunity to retire. And unfortunately, in the oil and gas industry, or in STEM, but especially in the oil and gas industry, we lost a whole generation back in the 80s because young kids coming out of college in the 80s didn't get jobs or they were fired. And they said, sorry, I'm going to go find something else to do. So when my generation, the baby boomers, start retiring, that next generation not there, who's going to be behind to fill those jobs? And I can tell you, oil goes up and oil goes down, and gas goes up and gas goes down. But at some point, it is a technology business now. One time it was a sort of a dirty kind of business that you had to get in there with your muscles and do it. But at WPX, the VP of Completions and Drilling told a group of employees, we're a software company, just like any other company, because the way we extract oil and gas from the ground, it becomes more efficient because of technology. So as we've seen of diversity in the workplace, and gender diversity is one aspect of that cultural inclusion. And it's very important that we take time to increase the number of women represented in the STEM field, and hopefully I can present a few ideas around how to do it. I personally grew up in southern Oklahoma, in Marietta. Probably not many of you have heard of that, but it was right in the middle of the oil business. My father was a petroleum engineer. My grandfather was an attorney and independent oil man. I had an aunt that was actually a landman, and yes, they're still called landmen, but she was probably one of the first to walk out in the field signing a lease with heels on. I entered the energy industry late in my career. Background is law, and I've worked in a variety of companies. But what is absolutely critical in energy is a STEM background, a STEM degree. People do not become CEOs of energy companies unless you have that STEM degree. And despite the fact that opportunity initiatives were introduced back in the 1960s to get women into the STEM professions, it is not encouraging. Next slide. Here we go. STEM occupations are growing fast, and when they pay a premium, it's an exciting area to be in. You make a difference to this country and to the companies that you work for. The expected growth of STEM jobs is 13% between 2012 and 2022, with only 11% of overall employment. And they have 11% higher wages compared with counterparts in other jobs. However, women in STEM are highly underrepresented. Women make up nearly half the workforce, but less than a quarter available STEM jobs. The gender wage gap is less prominent in STEM. In STEM-related fields, women earn 14% less than men, whereas in non-STEM fields, women earn 21% less than men. And unfortunately, some of our inability to attract women to STEM jobs has caused some of the inequity in pay in general. Reducing gender segregation in college majors, specifically women, could be crucial to reducing the gender pay gap between college-educated men and women. And this slide is pretty self-explanatory. 100 women who enter college to obtain a BA, only 12 graduate with a BA in STEM. Now, more start, but oftentimes they change. After 2 years, only 5 of those women are in STEM, and after 10 years, only 3 women remain in STEM. Women just don't continue to pursue their STEM throughout college. And what's interesting, as of last week, Goldman Sachs analysts argue that oil and gas industry will need an additional 80 to 100,000 employees just to keep up with demand by 2018. And a large portion of those jobs are STEM related. So we've got to somehow keep kids in the STEM program, keep women in STEM programs, and get them to graduate and stay in those jobs. Next slide. What are the barriers for women in STEM? And frankly, when I grew up, women weren't generally good in math. That was just sort of generally accepted. There were a few who were, but I didn't think I could be, so I got a law degree. But my father was, was fabulous in math. My brother, and I always said he got my dad's brains, but he is an engineer. But stereotypes start early in academia. Girls and boys' attitudes start changing diverge around second grade. Gender gap on proficiency scores began to appear about 13. What causes that to happen? What causes women to believe that they cannot be good at mathematics and science in their formative years? And a number of studies have said is women just have a lack of role models. I know I never went out to work on a car with my mother when I was a child, but my father and my brother did. Bottom line, women are avoiding technical disciplines because they will not fit in, or they refer to an ambient sense of belonging. That's soft stuff that's hard to get a hold of and know how to deal with. But what is really critical are mentors, role models filling those places at work, and seeing that it can be effectively filled by a man or a woman, but oftentimes a man is necessary. So look in the mirror and see how you can personally help keep women in the STEM industries. 86% of engineers and 74% of computer professionals are men. Men comprise 70% of the graduates in engineering, mathematics, and computer science. And men hold more than 80% of the director and executive level officer positions in the oil and gas industry. I think this is an interesting picture. You see the diversity here at the boardroom, and in reality, we're not seeing that. So how do you increase diversity in our boardrooms, workplaces, and especially in the STEM field? First of all, we have to make it a priority, even in a recession. And how? First, realize there is no easy answer. Real change requires real effort. Really own the issue. Don't delegate it to HR to set up a program and then ignore it. Commit to the challenge, realize the difficulty of the challenge, and make diversity a critical goal for all executives, and hold them accountable. The CEO must hold them accountable. There's an interesting article that in Harvard Business Review this year was written by two professors from the University of Colorado. And as we all know, it's widely accepted that people tend to favor and promote people like themselves. Greg even admitted to it. So you have to have that awareness around it. But what was really interesting is the diversity behavior is not rewarded or appreciated in terms of how a boss rates you in general. And that goes for white males. For women and non-white executives, it's seen as a real negative that they promote their own. That's got to change, or we're not going to change these numbers or just statistics. We have to find a way to be highly visible role models, men and women alike, be bigger than our small numbers, focus on our college campuses to demonstrate to young women this is a realistic and rewarding career. There are steel-toe boots that you can order from Zappos, and I can tell you that they are rather attractive. And we have to equip women with the tools they need to be successful. With that, I don't know if there's any time for questions. We appreciate your time and hope that you will join us in making Tulsa an even more inclusive workplace. And if you're interested and involved, please reach out to us directly. We're both on LinkedIn, and connect on the Women's Energy Network, our Chamber Diversity Program, Mosaic, for a lot of networking opportunities. But we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So if there isn't a focus within an organization already for diversity and inclusion, how do you take the first steps to start actively promoting that?
If you don't have a diversity program in your company at this point in time, what are the best steps to actively pursue setting that up? Frankly, I think one of the best resources in Tulsa is Mosaic. I would reach out to them. They're a part of the Chamber of Commerce. They can provide you with tools and assistance. Reach out to your own employees within the company to see who may have a passion behind it, because frankly, management needs to support it, but you need to get more than just management supporting it. You've got to have management supporting and employees that are excited about it. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's an education issue, really, in a large extent. So, meaning education within your organization. And so, to me, I think that's spot on. Is find somebody who is passionate about it. It is also a top-down issue, which is why this issue around I mentioned about the CEO Council that I really want to get going and funding on that situation is a good place to it's leadership. I mean, it's a matter of why is it important, I mean, and then once you kind of figure out why is it important, then it becomes then it's, you embrace it. But it's, yeah, I mean, I think that's spot on. So.
Mr. Arend, since your firm is so successful at this, tell us some of the key things that you have done to be successful.
Yeah, so first of all, it is not about like numbers, like meaning like quotas or anything like that. That's not it. We run from that because that is not where we at all want to be and where our messaging is. We just promoted our CEO of Deloitte is a female, Kathy Engelbert. Had nothing to do with her being female. It had to do with the fact that she could lead. She had all of our support. She had the abilities that we all wanted. She had the demeanor that we wanted and the messaging, that we wanted. And so one, I would say the very first thing I'd say is you gotta walk the talk. So you're gonna say it, and then don't say it if you don't mean it. And then you're gonna literally you have to walk that. So it is incorporated into our goals. So at the partner level, all the way down to the lowest level staffer, it's about what are you doing in terms of active involvement, and then it is part of our overall firm culture. So it is our cultural diversity and inclusiveness is part of our part of our firm culture. And as I mentioned, I mean, we're on a war for talent every day, all right? And so we've got, typically 3 other firms that we'll go compete against. And so we've got to be able to recruit and retain the very best of the best. The other thing, we invest heavily in this. So in educational programs, we built a facility in Dallas known as Deloitte University. We have, regular programs for inclusion, diversity and inclusion programs. We do that. We also bring clients. I should have mentioned that to you. You can also have, depending on who it is, you have different service providers that can actually help you with bringing into those types of working sessions and so forth. So, but it's really your goal. It's an expectation from the top down, and then we live it every day of the week.
Marcia, we know that girls thrive and stand in a single gender environment, programs that we offer, but that's not the real world when they get to college and to the workplace. How do we prepare them now to be ready for the challenges that they face once they get out?
That's an excellent question, Roberta. The Girl Scouts do a fabulous job with STEM, and the local Girl Scouts have been nationally recognized for their programs. And you're right. I think it's comfortable for girls to find STEM exciting when they're in a gender-neutral atmosphere. I think it becomes much more difficult as they have to work with boys and men, and that's something I think that there's probably some soft skills they need to be prepared for, and that is building their self-confidence, building the fact that they see role models of other women that can be successful in those areas. And that's something I think you have done a terrific job with, and I really thank you for doing that. But I think everyone has to realize that, you take a look at the Girl Scouts and you see some outstanding STEM students. And then it's wondering what kind of skills do we have to build, soft skills do we have to build, and allow them to have that self-confidence to enter into the regular workforce. And
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Greg and Marcia. I know here at Rotary Club of Tulsa, it's a very important initiative for us as well. We recognize that we need to be as diverse as the community we serve, and we're working very hard on that. A book will be donated to our Adopt a School. It is The Otter, the Spotted Frog Ate the Great Flood. So thank you for signing this. We'll get it to City Clinton Elementary, which is our Adopt a School, and it goes into their library in your honor. Thank you very much. Our announcements today, we have one announcement. It's on your table. There's a sign up for the MSNI Warehouse Workday. That is this Saturday. Please join parolee and past president Jeff Hassel in working at MSI this Saturday. It'll be a rewarding time of fun and fellowship. And for our project announcement today, would Terry Heritage come forward to speak about Adopt a Class?
Good afternoon, good and generous Rotarians. I come here for over 10 years to ask you to please give a donation for our teachers at Celia Clinton Elementary School. There are 37 teachers full-time and 17 part-time. The need is great. You all hear in the news about the budget cuts and everything else that affects the schools. We are proud to have Principal Mrs. Davis, if you'll stand up, Tanya. She's here with us. It helps her recruit teachers. She was telling me today that she is taking her time and trying to get the very best. It's a poor school. They have the heart, but they don't have the money. We have other schools that have teachers associations, and they give the money and the things that the teachers need to fix their classrooms up, but we don't have that honor or privilege at Celia Clinton. It's a very poor school. But Mrs. Davis said the fact that we do this every year, we give each teacher $200 in gift certificates so they can go and get all the things that make their classroom easier to teach their kids, things that aren't in the budget. This is the flyer on your table. You can make a donation of any size. Nothing is too small, nothing is too large. It all adds up. Make sure you earmark it for Adopt a Class. You can make it out to the foundation so you can get a tax break, but be sure and let them know it's for Adopt a Class. If you have any questions, you can see me. I can't see you, as you know, because of my eyes, but it's a wonderful effort that Rotary does, and I thank you for being so good every year.
Thank you very much, Terry. I can't think of a more important thing to do than to connect to our young children through the Adopt a School. Thank you for being a part of that, and we look forward to connecting to the school in a very special way this fall. I'm very excited about it. You'll hear more about that coming up. But I'm the husband of a teacher. So this is a very important thing in my family and for my children as well. Speaking of that, a fellow Sepulpan that went to kindergarten with my wife.
I did. There are lots of things that you don't know about us yet, but
now,
we'll probably be
one thing I do remember real quick is that I used to pull both your pigtails and you used to chase me around.
I will only tell the truth about the stories. But I know what my senior picture looks like. Well, we're going to post those too. So
we won't go there.
Anyway, so I'm so happy to be here today, and now I'm finding out why he put me at the end, because, you know, I need like a Mary Poppins bag. Do you all remember Mary Poppins? And she had the bag, and she kept pulling out giant things. Well, today I'm going to be pulling out some giant things. Before we go on to my slides, I do have something that I want to do. I'm going to mix this up a little bit, because normally I send out letters to you asking you if you'd like to pay a fine. And some of you have received those letters. And before I go any further, President, I have to come clean about something.
Okay.
So there may have been some plagiarism involved.
Aha.
So Matthew Bristow invited me to his office. Where's Matthew? There. So he's inviting me to his office to kind of give me the rundown on being a Sarge. And he graciously sent me some examples of slides and some examples of letters. And for those of you who keep all of your files, if you look at some of those letters, you're going to find that probably 67 words were plagiarized. But I just want to throw that out there. So, thank you, Matthew. So today, before we get started, I'm gonna do like a kind of a fun thing that I'm gonna ask for fines. I'm gonna ask for some people over the next little bit to contact me about giving me a fine, because we had something really amazing happen over the last few days. Michelle Place, does everybody know our Rotarian Michelle Place? She was in Switzerland, and what a great day to talk about this, because we're talking about diversity. She was there for a conference on just governance and human security. Well, while she was there, does everybody remember going to the Historical Society and seeing the Boomtown movie? Yeah. We did that as Rotarians, and that was pretty awesome. And so look at these great bags that were made. Tulsa Historical Society, Boomtown. Well, while she was gone, Boomtown, the documentary, won an Emmy.
Oh, wow.
So she did not get to receive that award because she was in Switzerland. So I would like for her to come up here and receive her Emmy.
Yes.
And now, I will tell you that she is so extremely humble, and she just, repeated me over and over again, this is not about me, this is not about me. So I'm going to say that it's about her bravery to jump into a documentary and tell a story that was hard to tell, but the world needed to hear it. And so we see that by this. So, congratulations. I can't give you any mic time now. I mean, you could just say thank you. So. Okay, so those of you who would like to sponsor a nice fine in her name, contact me. I'll have a slide put together for next week. So. Okay, well, let's get on to, wait, let me see what's else in my bag. Because we're going to do the drawing today. Did everybody buy a ticket? No, I can tell, because there's not enough tickets in here. But we're going to. Some more stuff out of my bag. Oh, turkey magazines.
Oh.
For those of you who don't know, John is a turkey hunter. Does everybody here know that? And I am a member of the National Federation of Turkey.
And I am not.
And I'm not a hunter. And so anyway, so these are for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so on to slides. Here we go. Somebody slide me. All right, Phil Viles, what a nice guy. $100, he's helping me with my 100 for 100. He has a milestone birthday, so he threw in a few dollars more. His birthday was July 18th. We waited until today because his beautiful daughter Amanda is with him today so that we could celebrate. And it's also on the 24th is his Rotary anniversary, and he's been in Rotary forever, trust me. So thank you, Phil, for your donation. Now, is everybody still talking about the zoo trip? I love the Rotary trips. I'm just going to say that right now. Where's Terry? Terry Carell? There she is. Happy birthday today to Terry. She has paid a $100 fine to celebrate her birthday today. So happy birthday. We hope that you're doing more than just hanging out with Rotarians on your birthday. Joe Moran, he took a nibble on that email I sent him, Matthew's email, and he paid a $250 fine. His birthday is on the 28th, but is he here today? Where are you? There he is. Be sure to give him a big pat on the back when you see him today. So happy birthday to you all. Okay, now, it's 50-50 game. I'm going to talk really quickly about some rules here. This is the way it's played. So when you come into Rotary, you're going to bring a fistful of dollars, okay? That's how it all starts. You go find Barney or one of his volunteers, and we do need people to volunteer to take money. It's not a hard thing to do. You just, take money, hand out tickets. You keep half the ticket goes in a jar. This is like a mini jar because the jar is going to get bigger and bigger as we go because it'll have more and more tickets in it. And then we're going to let some lucky person who's close to me draw. Today we're going to let our principal, Tanya, will, if she'll do this for us.
It's not rigged.
It's not rigged, no. And so what we'll do is we'll draw a number. The person who has that ticket will come up, and they will draw from the big deck of cards that has been shuffled well by me. So if you draw and you do not draw the joker, then you do not win. And we wait till next week. But the card that you drew will be put aside. So every week the deck gets smaller. Your chances of winning increase. Okay? And it is all for a good cause. If you win the pot, you win half of what's in the pot. The other pot goes to Rotary International. So, really quick, does anybody have any questions that have to do with the rules of the game? Okay, no, good, that's good. All right.
Now, I'm an old poker player, and I'm going to ask you to cut that deck because I know that Jarl saw the bottom card.
Jarl, did you look? Okay, well, we can do that. So, okay, so we're going to shake it up really well.
Oh, boy.
Visitor and drawer. You know somebody's going to say, well, the one she dropped, that was the one. Yeah, that was one.
Grown-up children.
I know. Oh, my gosh, these numbers are so small. Okay, the numbers are 247066. Who has that number? Say bingo. Oh,
All
look.
right.
Come on down.
Come on, Jamie.
Okay, now, you know, I'm really rooting for you, but I kind of don't want you to win it. You know, that's gonna be like super.
Now, how much is in the pot?
It's $200+. I'm going to talk to you next week about the pot, but
Okay.
it's over
So we
the-
seeded the pot with $200, and today's sales also are on top of that.
Okay, Dr. Love.
I feel like I've already won.
You have just us being together. Okay. All right, so I have to cut the deck because,
Oh, yeah.
you know, he said, these gambling people, I don't get it, but whatever. Okay, now,
Am I ready?
you may.
Just take this one. Not a winner.
Oh.
But it's a queen.
They're identical.
Thank you, Jamie.
So, please read your emails from the Sarge and be kind. Let's raise some money for Rotary. So that's all I have today. Do you have anything?
Just thank you for the turkey magazines, and we'll get
Got
you
it.
all painted up in the spring, and we'll go out and we'll chase some around and maybe video
I want to
that.
wear the woolly thing. The woolly.
Oh, we'll get you a ghillie suit, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. As a reminder, our upcoming programs again on July the 27th, Mark Graham and our own Rotarian Bob McKenzie to talk about RAM, Daniel Regan, the chairman of Typros, and on August the 10th, I hear this is going to be outstanding as well, as Mike Knopp with the Oklahoma City Boathouse. I want to thank everybody that volunteered today. Their names are on the screen. Let's give them a big round of applause. We do a great job with our AV here, and it's all through volunteers and Miguel keeping everybody honest, and of course, Regina. So I wanted to take this opportunity for a second to highlight an article or a piece of it that was in your Rotarian magazine. And one of my themes is connect, exchange, and take action. So I tripped across an article. It was provided to me by one of our Rotarians, and it's kind of the text behind that. That's been shortened, but for years and years, there are things about service above self that Rotary talks about. One is the object of Rotary, the other is the four-way test, and the other is the code of conduct. That is connect, exchange, and take action. So I want to go over the connect part, which is the object of Rotary. The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of something worthy, and in particular, to encourage and foster, number one, the development of relationships as an opportunity to serve. Number two, high ethical standards in business and professions, the recognition of their usefulness, and the dignification of each Rotarian's occupation as an opportunity to serve. Third, the application of the ideal and the idea of service in each Rotarian's personal, professional, and community life. And then fourth, the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world fellowship of business and professional persons uniting under the idea and the ideal of service. That is connect. So next week we'll talk about exchange. Thank you very much, and remember our Adopt a Classroom. Remember to join Jeff and MSI this weekend. And thank you again to our speakers, Marcia and Greg. Welcome again to our new members, Brandy and Dennis. And thank you very much, Head Pastor Gallus, for joining us. We thank you, and be sure and exchange your ideas with people today in the community that you come in contact. Tell them how great Tulsa is and how wonderful Rotary Club of Tulsa is. We're adjourned.